What is up, Hardcore Nation? It's Hardcore Christopher here, and today I'm going to be listing my top 5 worst wrestling heel turns. Now, this list could be controversial, and there are good heel turns and there are bad heel turns. Like, for example, a good heel turn was Hulk Hogan at Bash at the Beach. A bad heel turn was trying to think of someone that I'm not going to put on the list. A bad heel turn is like when someone turns for no reason. I'm looking at you, Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 17. But let's get right into it. My number 5 worst heel turn would would have to be Big Show. Which heel turn? I don't know. Choose one. They were all bad. Number 3, no. Number 4, excuse me. I don't know how to count apparently. Number 4, I'm going to WCW for this one. Number 4 would number 4 would have to be Dusty Rhodes going in WO. Now, why do I say this is a bad heel turn? Well, unlike number 5, which was Big Show, and I've just put heel turns into one slot because they all had an aura of badness to them. Dusty, he was a commentator at this point. And honestly, him being in the NWO did nothing except expand the group, which was already on the roster. Number 3, I'm going to TNA for this one. And that'd be Taz joining the Aces and Eights. Again, a commentator. He was a wrestler. Him being in the Aces and Eights made no sense from a storyline perspective, and he had accomplished nothing while in the Aces and Eights. He brought absolutely nothing. Number 2, would have to be and I'm going to WWE for this one. Michael Cole. Why do I say that Michael Cole's... Now, in this heel turn's defense, good heel. But he's not even a wrestler. He's a play-by-play guy. Play-by-play guys are supposed to be neutral. There we go. Play-by-play guys are supposed to be neutral. They're supposed to call the action. And Michael Cole, the worst thing about Michael Cole's heel turn is that his heel turn didn't even end where it should have. It should have ended at WrestleMania 27, but instead of Michael's heel run ending there, we had to wait until Over the Limit. I am having difficulty talking today. We had to wait till Over the Limit to get the end of heel Michael Cole. So instead of being an annoying heel, he became an annoying neutral announcer. I have some honorable mentions. In fact, I have 2. And number 2 is going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin turning heel at WrestleMania 17. This was a bad heel turn because even Stone Cold Steve Austin has said it. It was Stone Cold Steve Austin's idea to turn heel. But looking back on it, he did say it was the wrong place at the wrong time. He turned heel in Texas. Think about that. A Texas wrestler shaking hands with Vince McMahon in Texas, and a lot of people thought that Vince babyface. No. Absolutely not. Why? So why was Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 17 not at number one? Well, I felt that it would be a cop out. I felt like it would probably be number one on pretty much everyone else's list, and I didn't want to go that route. Number one on my honorable mentions would have to be Goldberg turning heel. The only thing that I remember about Goldberg turning heel was him eating a piece of paper from Scott Hall's contract. Now, on to number one. Number one is Sting. Which heel turn am I referring to? Well, everyone knows that he was a heel in TNA. He led the Main Event Mafia. He was a good heel at that. But that made sense. It was the summer of 1999 in WCW. The NWO was long dead at this point. So Sting was back up in the rafters, just down and everything. And there was a tag team match. I forget who it was against, but I believe Sting turned on Savage. Sting turned, and at the very next, heel Sting didn't last very long. In fact, at the next pay-per-view, they turned him babyface again, so it's like, what's the point? There was no point, it's just a dying slope. But and Wrestling for Fans will always bring this up. WCW got bought out. Well, WCW is no longer around. And in fact, I'm going to make a very bold statement here. WCW was ran by a bunch of morons. But anyway, before I get on a tangent about WCW and everything, let me go by my list. Number 5 is Big Show. All of his heel turns. Number 4, Dusty Rhodes. Number 3, Taz. Number 2,
this fishing line entanglement issue that's affecting so many seals across the southern Australia doesn't continue to happen. These seals deserve a life of having fun, being part of this colony, breathe, and hopefully breeding for the future.
Number 2
When I'm on the road, I'm constantly getting calls and messages
is Michael Cole.
who want help with their animals. So from Phillip Island, Australia,
The honorable mentions are Stone Cold Steve Austin turning heel at WrestleMania 17, and Goldberg's heel turn
and
at
never really go for a swim
in WCW,
for work. But that's what I love. I love to be able to get in there, get dirty,
and
and make a difference for all the animals here.
number 1 would be
You might be in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, but
WCW Sting turning heel in WCW
compared to what I think of, I've been here so many times.
during the summer of 1999.
I know the people, and I know
It was just
the situation they're facing.
unmemorable.
The islands are relatively small, but they're absolutely overflowing
Yeah,
animals.
wrestling for fans.
Travel
What are your thoughts on this?
and give the necessary care. So whenever I come here, my first stop is always the town
I'm Hardcore Christopher,
close to the island.
everyone.